It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Cool.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege to interview all of the owners of All Talk No Balk Sports Podcast. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Great, thanks.
Thanks. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to start a sports talk podcast?
Well, Charles and I started it together, and we came on to. It was originally, we're now All Talk No Balk. It was originally the Bullpen when we came on, and our original boss just sort of wanted to expand platforms. We were just writing articles, and we had a social media presence, but we didn't have a podcast. And Charles and I kind of both, it was sort of magic. I mean, we both kind of came up with it at the same time, and we had no idea how to do it. So we just jumped in and head first, and then we brought Reese on a couple months later, and It's been super fun.
The podcast.
No.
Reese shares our love of connecting with people as well. We feel that, we all have a passion for sports at such a young age, and most of us, especially, me and Heather, I'm pretty sure knew that we wanted to do this since like middle school, elementary school. So it's always been a passion, and we feel that connecting with people through sports is something that is really unique and something that we do a great job at. And as we'll get into, a lot of our guests that we connect with, it's really fun just kind of getting their opinion on things, and getting into your take, our take, and a bunch of those things is really fun and entertaining for a lot of our guests and for our listeners. So it's been a journey and a great one, and we are so thankful for everyone that's come on, and just the connection has really been huge. And that's the main reason why we started, is to connect everyone in our fan base together with this podcast.
That's wonderful, Charles, that you knew how you wanted to start this podcast whenever you were literally a kid.
Yeah. Me and my friends would always have sports debates. You mentioned before we started this that you're a Steelers fan. I'm a huge Cowboy fan. So that's a bit of a rival. I'll show off my star real quick. It's right there.
Oh my
God. Wow.
Ignore him, Brandon.
We would always have debates. My buddy's a huge Giants fan, and that's when it was Romo versus Eli Manning, and those were the days. So yeah, just talking debates and unique sports content is always fun.
Heather,
we only talk about baseball. That should be, we really only talk about MLB. Not even college.
We get into NBA, but yeah,
we're a little bit. We dabble.
We dabble.
We got a little sprinkle in there, yeah.
Little spice.
Exactly.
Heather, can you talk about how you came up with the name All Talk No Balk?
Yeah. Well, we were in the middle of figuring out how to do this podcast and what names would be good. We have a little group chat going on Slack. This was so many months ago already. It's already hard to remember. And I just we were throwing out names, and they all just seemed pretty generic, and nothing seemed to really click. And I just, I thought of All Talk No Balk because, one, it rhymes, and I think that's really cool. Two, balk is like a baseball term, but it's also sort of a play on words, because sort of the point of it is all talk, no balk, no BS. We get right to it. And then we'll get into it later probably, but we just finished a rebrand. So now our whole company is All Talk No Balk. And we've sort of shifted gears in what we talk about in the podcast itself, which now is more about kind of quirky, weird, once in a lifetime baseball plays, or historically cool in some way baseball plays. And a balk in and of itself is a weird, it's an error, really. It's a misstep that doesn't happen very often. So, yeah.
Reese, can you talk about what kind of topics you talk about on the podcast?
Sure, yeah. So typically we talk about any current news happening in MLB. just anything important going on. And I mean, when we do extend beyond MLB, we do talk about important events happening in the sporting world as a whole, current worldly events, you name it. But typically, yeah, our main focus is on MLB and everything going on there. We also do a fun segment called Your Take, Our Take during every single episode where we kind of stray away from the norm, and it's like a little, I don't know how to describe, like almost like a mini game
It's
section,
weird.
if that makes sense. It's fun though. It's so much fun. And that's where we get into debates and fun topics. It's a really good time. So that's like the bulk of our entertainment is in Your Take, Our Take. But yeah, so really we cover all of our bases. We really do talk about everything. So yeah.
Charles, who are some of the guests that you've had on your podcast?
We've had a bunch of different guests. We've interviewed solo guests like off on our own, so we could bring it onto the YouTube as sort of interview segments. But some of the main people we've had on are Matt Antonelli. If you've heard of him, he does a lot of those baseball how-to videos and a lot of baseball content on his YouTube. We've also had Spencer Steer as one of our interview guests. He's an up-and-coming AAA guy. He's probably going to make the MLB as well, so look out for that name, Spencer Steer. And we had Craig Warzeka, who's a member and owner, GM of a minor league team as well. So we've gotten around, and there's been a lot of other ones that we've had on our podcast and a lot of special interviews. And like Reese was saying with Your Take, Our Take, we've gotten into a lot of fun subjects, like, do you bite or lick ice cream, and a bunch of other ones like a little bit concerning to baseball, like maybe your favorite ballpark snack and some stuff like that. But it's been great, like connecting with some of these guys who have been doing it for so long and seeing like kind of their, almost like their fun side and getting a little goofy with them. And at the same time, getting into the concrete stuff as well has been great. Learning about what they do and everything has been awesome. And it's really helped us branch out and get a feel for what to do next and to connect with other audiences. So it's all been great with some of these guests that we've had on.
Can you talk about how you got some of the people that you've interviewed? Like, do you use LinkedIn or do you use other social media platforms?
Social media platforms mainly. I'll let you answer as well, Heather, but some of the ones that I've gotten have been through, I played baseball since I can remember, since I was 5 years old. And a lot of these guys, you network through the people you know as well. And I actually met Spencer through one of my best friends that I played minor league ball with. So it was great to connect with him. And yeah, just through social media and a lot of those avenues has been really helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We have such a brilliant team. It's not just the three co-hosts of the podcast. We have finance people, sort of business managers. We have graphic designers, social media people, writers. I mean, a whole team behind us. So they've done such a great job networking on social media, like Charles was saying. And we're continuing. We're still new. We just started in April, so we're continuing to reach more and more people and expand our personal network. And this is a big part of it. So thank you so much for having us on. We appreciate it.
Heather, speaking about logos and graphic design, can you talk about the idea of coming up with your logo?
Well, that was a process. That was a very long process. I'm not going to lie. We started as the bullpen, and we had our own logo for that. But we just wanted to really pop with our logo. That was really important for us. We wanted it to grab the eye right away. And we also wanted it to be relevant to baseball. So we came up with our brilliant, I can't take any of the credit. All the credit goes to Johnny, our graphic designer, one of them, who did such a fabulous job coming up with the color schemes. I mean, that was a whole debate with all of us. We had to pick the color scheme, and Annie came up with the look of it. So, and that translated. Our other graphic designer, Christina, then updated our website and made it all look so fantastic. And so head over to alltalknobalk.com for more info.
Reese, can you talk about some of your favorite interviews that you've done?
Yeah, honestly, that's a hard one because there have been really good ones. I really liked when we had Callan on, and it was during, I think Heather knows where I'm going with this, and Charles probably does too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it was during one of our Your Take, Our Take segments, and we got into the great hot dog debate, and I'll ask you this as well, Brandon. If you were going to classify a hot dog, would you classify it as a taco or a sandwich? I have to know.
Or something else.
No. There's not a third option. It's literally just
a sandwich.
There's more options.
But what is your reasoning? Because that's wrong, but what is your reasoning?
Because it's on a bun.
Right, but like structurally, it's 100% a taco. No question.
It's a pita pocket, Brandon. Don't listen to her.
We're bringing the heat now, Brandon.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite interview by far. Also, the one we had last week was so much fun. We had Cameron on, and we discussed some rookie rituals that we would do. Should we be in charge of a Major League Baseball team? Which none of us ever should be, but if we are,
speak for yourself, Reese.
Rookie rituals, and that was really fun as well. So honestly, like, it's the interviews, the ones that I like the best are the ones that are less formal, the ones that are more fun, the ones where you can really get to know your guests and connect with them on a level that goes beyond just professional. It's like almost like a friendship. So those have been my favorite by far.
That's wonderful. Charles, can you talk about some of your favorite moments as the part of the podcast?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many. I would say, like, as much as we do right, there are plenty of things that go wrong during a given podcast that don't make the cut. And I would say all those moments that we goof around and there are bloopers and we get to really laugh with our guests outside of the podcast. Those are some of my favorite moments. Your take, our take is always a good time. That was something that I brought onto the podcast since day one, and Heather and I always have a great time with that one. But yeah, I would say all of the bloopers that don't get put into the podcast are some of my favorite moments. And just talking with the team, we have such a great podcast team from Andrew and Tori as well that come on the podcast, all of our guests.
100%.
And there are so many moments to choose from, Brandon. Yes. I don't think I could, if I went on and on, it would take up an hour. So I think I'm just going to go with some of the funny moments, some of the bloopers that don't make it, and just spending time and having good conversation with this awesome team.
That's wonderful.
Charles, you're making me blush.
Starting off with you, Heather, what have you learned now that you didn't know before starting the podcast?
Oh my God. Well, short answer, everything. Longer answer, just how to, I mean, it's so much time management that you don't even think about. Like, we have separate meetings for planning out the podcast that we're going to do that week. And then we actually do the podcast and we have to get the guests, and, and sometimes we don't even have a guest. We have to figure out who's going to be on. Like Charles was saying, we have Tori and Andrew on our team as well, who have been so pivotal in making our podcast so awesome and funny and everything that we want it to be. So I think I've also learned, probably most importantly, how, like, what audience we're trying to reach and how to do that. We just want to have fun. We want to have a good time, and we want to show young people, we're all in our early 20s, and we just want to show young people like us that baseball could actually be cool and could be kind of weird, kind of quirky, kind of fun. Baseball has a bad rap of being like this boring, old, slow sport, whereas the NBA and the NFL and others have just skyrocketed, even soccer. So we want to sort of divert that and show everybody that we love this game and that they should too. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah, Brandon, I was just gonna say real quick, you asked about the moments. I would also like to add that this journey has been amazing, growing and watching everything, and honestly, like, seeing the guests that we've gotten become more and more into like what we want to be, like Matt Antonelli and some of these baseball guys, and seeing our audience grow as we've selected our audience and we've, given them the content that they want, seeing that grow and knowing who our audience is now, everything from start to finish, where we are now and everything in the future has been great. So just want to shout out everyone on this amazing team and everything. Again, it's been great.
Reese, what have you learned now that you didn't know before you started?
Honestly, something that I definitely take to heart with all of this is how close-knit the sports community really is. I feel like that's not something a lot of people recognize. That's not something I recognized. It seems so intimidating and massive when you're looking at it from the outside, but once you really start getting into it, you realize just how supportive and really amazing everyone who's involved in it is. You know, we're all trying to work our way up and we're all supporting each other and cheering each other on. And yes, it's a competitive industry, but it's an industry in which some really amazing friendships have been cultivated. And I know the people that I've met through All Talk No Balk are going to be people that are going to be cheering me on, who I'm going to be cheering on forever. And yeah, it just, you know, really, the connections you make really transcend the whole like business aspect of it. So definitely being in a podcast, it's been an incredible experience. I've made some amazing connections and I've learned just how fantastic the sports community is as a whole.
Charles, what is something you learn now that you didn't know before you started?
Something that I've learned now. Definitely how challenging Zoom can be, trying to get those
Oh my
recordings,
God.
and editing everything and making sure that it goes right. There are a lot
The
of
Wi-Fi
glitches,
connections, getting kicked out of Zoom calls halfway through.
all that stuff. But yeah, I would have to agree with Reese as well, how tight knit and how open everyone is about coming on a sports podcast, and just how nice everyone can be with coming on and being a guest and sharing your content and really connecting with you and being a part of your network. It's really enlightening to see like the community that we have and to see like everyone that we've already networked with and who we're going to network with. And you know, I'm learning about how to continue to push our brand and branding everything and so many different things, website design. You know, Heather and I came on as marketing, and now we've been doing so much more than that, as has Reese, as has numerous people that have been on for a while. So it's been a learning experience from the start. I could say everything has really been like, you know, starting to get used to things and get the hang of things. But I think we've done a great job. And yeah, I think I've learned a lot so far, and I can't wait for what's to come. And, you know, it's really helped us understand who our audience is and what we need to do in order to connect with them throughout this whole learning process. And yeah, it's been great content, and I love the direction that we're headed right now.
Heather, are there any future plans whenever it comes to all talk, no bark?
Future plans? Well, yes, tons. As I said sort of earlier, we just kind of completed a rebrand, but we're going in a new direction with the theme, and that will present itself in the podcast and the articles we write, and our social media too. So we're going to be talking more and more about like the weirdness of baseball, the quirky aspects, the things that you just don't see in any other sport or really anything in general. And that'll be fun, but we're going to, you know, continue on with what everybody loves, which is us making jokes and bloopers and talking about weird stuff is kind of baseball, but not really. So that's one thing. We're definitely gonna have more guests on our podcast and more interviews in our articles too. So that's something to look out for and be excited for. And we are actually bringing on a new content producer, which is going to be so great for our YouTube page. We're starting a TikTok and hopefully a Snapchat too. So we're expanding our social media. We're sort of doing everything in order to broaden our fan base but still have the original loyal people stick around, and they're going to love it even more than when we started.
That's wonderful. Where can my listeners find your podcast at on social media, along with any social media platforms?
So you can find us we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and I'm probably forgetting one. Our website's alltalknobalk.com, as I said. And we're on all you can just search All Talk No Balk for all of the above, and you'll find a blue, red, and white logo. It's All Talk, No Balk, ! At All Talk No Balk on Instagram. So
along with some cool merch, some great merchandise that you can buy.
Oh my God, yes, we sell merchandise. Thank you, Charles. We sell merchandise on Redbubble. Again, just search All Talk No Balk. where Johnny again is constantly churning out awesome designs for all of the merch that is available on Redbubble. So go on there. I think we have 5 or 6 designs already up, but they keep coming. And yeah, so go to Redbubble.
Thank you again for your interview and best of luck.
Spotify.
Thank you again for your interview.
Sorry, I just want to. Oh.
Go on.
I'm so sorry. Let me just add, so sorry. Our podcast you can find on Spotify, All Talk No Balk, and then on YouTube, All Talk No Balk. That's where our podcast is just on Spotify, but we have YouTube as well. So
thank you again for your interview and best of luck with All Talk No Balk. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, y'all, for your interview and best of luck.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you so much for having us.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.